Well, you did a lot of independent stuff in the beginning, Incredible Melting Man and all those things. What was your first studio job?
I think the first thing that I did was that kind of was close to like a real movie kind of a deal. It was actually a TV movie, this thing called The Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman.
Which you got an Emmy for.
Yes,
you
along
worked with Stan Winston.
Yeah. Probably the first really big thing that I'm kind of known for is the Dino De Laurentiis King Kong.
Which you not only did the gorilla suit, but you wore it.
Yeah.
Well, that had to be a completely unique experience for you. First of all, I mean, this giant production and the controversy about remaking King Kong at all. I know the original King Kong's one of your favorite movies, right?
Well, I had actually heard from Landis that they were going to remake King Kong, and I said to John, they're probably going to get some idiot and put him in a gorilla suit. And I was right. It's like, and I mean, I just said, I can't believe they're trying to remake this movie, but then somehow they got my name and they talked to me, and I had just taken a job, a film called Squirm, and had to do some early makeup effects scenes of this, worms burrowing under a guy's face.
Stuff.
It was a string and a rubber worm,
but at the time, nobody done layers where things would go and burrow underneath.
Yeah, it's true. And when, I was just about to take that when the Kong guys contacted me, and I said, well, if you really are serious, I got to know really soon or I'm going to be on this other project. And they didn't call me right away. I took the other project, then they called me.
Of course.
So I said, I have to finish and build this and test it and train somebody, so. When I came back, I kind of said, we want you and Carlo Rambaldi to work together, which I didn't like the idea. I thought actually Carlo was talented and did some interesting things, but it's hard to have two bosses, and the attitude that Dino and company had was that the original King Kong was a piece of junk compared to the movie that they were going to make,
Wow.
And when I went in and talked to them originally, they wanted King Kong to be like a Neanderthal man, not even a gorilla, and I was going, how can you can't do that?
A giant Neanderthal man?
Yeah. They actually gave me these drawings of this primitive man and said, we want you to build, we think you both have good ideas, we want you to build this, and Carlo's going to build one, and we're going to compare. So I threw the drawings out and built a gorilla suit. And I was 25 years old, and I said, I'm going to show these guys they don't know what they're talking about, I haven't changed much, I guess.
It is called King Kong, after all.
Jesus, yeah, I mean, so I built this gorilla suit, came to the set, said, where's Carlos? And they go, well, he didn't get a chance to finish because he's going to build this 40-foot robot that's going to do the whole movie, and they said he's a genius, I was going, he's a liar. He cannot build a 40-foot robot, nobody can do that. Anyways, when I put the suit on and they started shooting some tests, they were furious because it looked nothing like what they'd given me to do. But I go, yeah, but this is better. And this guy in this gorilla suit going, this is better.
All your hubris.
Right. Yeah, so long time later, Carlo finally got his first test suit kind of thing done, more along the lines of what they asked for. And John Gillerman said, no, he was right. This is the way we should go.
Well, you studied gorillas. You were really into the idea of gorillas and zoos and...
Yeah, I mean, that's what I found so disappointing too about it, was that I had a very definite idea on how to make a gorilla suit and was kind of not allowed to make the suit that I wanted to do.
Really?
Well, I mean, I wanted it to be a real gorilla. I mean, and a walk quadruped, and they didn't want it. They wanted a Hollywood, biped.
Right. There was so much controversy between fans because, a guy in a suit instead of a stop-motion gorilla. Did they take it out on you personally?
I think some did, but I agreed with them. I mean, yeah, it was fun. It was cool to be the guy in the gorilla suit, even though it was hell too, But,
right.
How many people get to stomp around a miniature, thing and have things blow up and break things and do all that, and it was kind of cool. And this was a $25 million movie, which before the things I was working on were $25,000 movies,
Well, your first Oscar and a big breakthrough for you was American Werewolf. And tell me how that came about.
Well, the first thing was John Schlock. He had written basically the movie that we made 10 years later or whatever it was. It's going to be my next movie. I want you to do it. Cool. I thought, great. Well, it turned out Schlock, which was, this $30,000 movie shot on Super 16 or whatever it was, wasn't the one of the great Hollywood
Not
movies.
big box office.
No,
Yeah.
So John, nobody was interested in John's, making American Werewolf. And fortunately, John, started making movies that made money, and it's something like 10 years after Schlock, American Werewolf finally happened. But gave me some time to think about it, But we had a number of arguments in the way, because he always wanted it to be a four-legged hound from hell, and to me, a werewolf should have been a two-legged thing. I still keep thinking of the Wolfman, but amped up a little bit, And it's like, okay, he's the boss, I'll have to make a four-legged hound from hell. But it was like, you're the makeup guy, you design it and make it, So that spoiled me, It was really nice to say, okay, this is what the wolf was going to look like, I just make it, These are the Nazi demons, I sculpt the thing, that's what it was, I like the collaborative thing of working with somebody if they know what they want. And if they can make a decision,
Right.
But I've worked on movies where you go to the work in the morning and the director doesn't even know what you're shooting that day, But what was great about John, there's a lot of things. I mean, I've learned to appreciate him that much more, and the more I work in the business, we had a script, and script is what we made, And it was planned out, There was a storyboard for the transformation. We pretty much stuck to that.
But you actually broke new ground here with the change-o heads and the metamorphosis taking place on camera, actual makeup effects changing, not camera effects. Talk a little about how you devised that.
I mean, that developed over a series of years. I mean, fortunately for me, American Werewolf didn't happen, 2 weeks after Schlock.
Right.
And I had a lot of time to think about it. And the first thing that I wanted to try, and the first thing I thought about was hair growing effect, and I wanted to do a head that looked like the actor and punch all the hairs in and through it, and, a rubber head of some sort with his hair punched in, and be able to pull these hairs in and like reverse print it. And I was hoping to be able to do it all in one shot,
Right.
I never would have been able to in those days,
How on earth?
And John, said I would never show it that way. That's ridiculous, It's much more dramatic, and he wanted to focus in on certain parts, So
Right.
I had tried to do it with makeups and things like that too, but putting something on someone's face and you're limited space-wise, for mechanics and
You can
stuff.
only add, you can't take away.
Yeah, and to put something on there that was going to push out.
How do you get the machinery in it?
Yeah, with this whole thing with this head I wanted to do with the hair, it's like, well, yeah, why not just make a head that we can push things out and not have it on a guy? So it evolved over a lot of stuff, and continued to evolve when we started to storyboard it, and I wanted to cut a hole in the set and do a fake body, which we did, and a lot of it's just makeup and cutting. You see he holds up his hand, and you're the camera, and then it's his point of view, and then you cut back to that again, and it's a different hand, and every time
Fake hand held under the frame.
and basically every time it cut to me, I almost had a different makeup on, and again, because it was planned out and boarded, it was like, okay, he's going to be really hairy here. Let's shoot the hairy part first, and then I'll pull some hair off and I'll trim it, and that'll be a lot faster than doing a whole new hair laying job, and then I can pull some more hair off and trim it, and we can keep going all the way down to where he hardly has anything,
And what's great is the body parts too. It's not just the face, but his heels, his back, all of those things that change. The cuts are what really sell it. Now, I know at the time you really wanted it to be in darkness or much less light, and John was insistent that it was in full light, which is very unforgiving when you're working with rubber and makeup effects. How do you feel about it now?
Well, I mean, I think his choice was totally right for that movie, and I mean, it definitely made it harder on me, but I tell John what I think, he tells me what he thinks too, Stop, you're an idiot, but it's like, he said, you are looking at it through the eyes of a makeup artist, and the best way to do the makeup, but I'm looking at it through the eyes of the director who's thinking of the entire movie, And
it's like an actor concentrating only on it.
Yeah, and he's totally right, and I've always remembered that, and I still, I try to do everything I do to look as good as possible in person. And I remember the first time I showed some of my work to people that weren't Dick Smith, in Hollywood, it's like, kid, you put too much in there, you're never going to see it, I see it, I want it to look good,